I want to thank all of you for coming out tonight. It's a great pleasure to be with you. I'm here to talk about relationships. My name is Jeff Reber. I'm a professor of psychology and a therapist. And I have a few thoughts I want to share with you about love. Love is the most relational experience, emotion that we share in. And I say share in because love is not really within us, it's between us. Think about it. When you want to tell somebody that you're ready to commit to them into a relationship, the words we often use are not "I love you," but "I've fallen in love with you." Take a moment and think about those words and what they're saying. It's as if we were walking along together and we both tripped at the exact same moment and fell into a pool of love. I've fallen in love with you. Why are we putting it out there and we're falling into it? Because we recognize that love is something I don't conjure up. I don't make it myself. I can't control it in you for sure and in myself, but somehow I seem to be capable of falling into it with you. And what do we say when we're going to break up with somebody? I love you, but I'm not in love with you. I'm no longer swimming in the pond with you. I might be swimming with someone else. So love is a truly, and I think beautifully and purely relational phenomenon. We share in it. We don't possess it. It's not a property I contain within me. It's something you and I get to experience and help create together. But it doesn't belong to you. It's shared. Now, love is tricky. I work with a lot of married couples, and other partnerships, and love's hard. And part of the reason it's hard is because we don't appreciate how relational our experience of being together with someone is. Let me give you an example. I was working with a couple that was on the brink of divorce. And the woman in the marriage, she called me up and she said, "I've got it figured out." You love to hear that as a therapist, you know. Great, okay, let's hear it. Well, I got a book and it's on personality types. And I've identified my husband's personality type that makes him such a problem. And I've identified my personality type that makes me a really great wife. Okay, let's hear about that. Well, this particular book, the personality types were labeled by military kind of officers or something. And she said, "Well, my husband, he's the drill sergeant type." I said, well, what does that mean? Well, it means he just demands respect and obedience. He's super strict, and he punishes and he yells if you don't do what you're told. He's the drill sergeant. I said, "Well, what personality are you?" "I'm like the diplomat. Like, I try to make everyone happy and make sure there's peace, and I talk to the kids after he yells at them, and I work things out. So I'm kind of like a diplomat, and he's the drill sergeant." So that's interesting. Let's talk about that when your husband comes in with you next time. So in they come. And I said, "You know, your wife mentioned to me that she's found this book." He said, "Oh, yeah, the book. My wife thinks she's got it all figured out." And I said, "Well, tell me a little bit about this drill sergeant she describes you as. Is that how you are in the home?" "Yeah, I am. And I hate it." I said, "Well, what do you mean?" "I don't want to be the drill sergeant. I don't want to yell at the kids. I don't want to have to be the enforcer of all the rules. But when I come home from work and I walk into the house and the kids are laying around and they're eating food and they're just dropping the wrappers on the floor and the food on the floor and there's just bowls everywhere and no one cares and no one's cleaning up and they're just watching TV, they're not doing their homework, no one's getting bathed," and I'm just like, I've got to fill the void. I've got to become the drill sergeant. So I start getting on them. And I start telling them they have to do their chores. And I start yelling at them for not, getting their bath on and everything they need to do. And I said, that's interesting. Tell me this. Before you were married, were you the drill sergeant with your friends? No. How about like with your family growing up? No, I wasn't. I was the laid back guy. I was laid back and easygoing. Well, what happened? Well, I don't have a choice. I've got to be the drill sergeant. And then I said to the wife, I said, "Now I know that you were a single parent before you married this man, this gentleman. What personality were you? What officer?" "Oh, I was the drill sergeant." "You were the drill sergeant before you got married?" "Yeah, because there was no one else. I had to do everything. I had to keep giving all the rules and enforcing them and being strict. And then when I got married, I was like, I'm done. I'm not going to be the drill sergeant anymore." So I just stopped. And he had to come in and become the drill sergeant. So our personalities, the things we sort of take on as roles, are not things we necessarily desire or choose of our own free will, sometimes we feel compelled because no one else is doing it. You walk around long enough, stepping on people's wrappers and bowls, you start thinking, I'm done with this. And of course, you can be bitter towards your spouse because they're not doing the job and you've got to do it all by yourself. But this poor woman was exhausted. She had been parenting for 13 years before she married this guy, and she didn't want to be the drill sergeant anymore. So she left a void, he filled it, and now she judges him because of how he's filling it, even though it's exactly the way she used to be, and she doesn't want to be married to him anymore. This is tricky stuff, folks. The relational dynamics that are happening in our marriages will sneak up on us, and we'll start detesting things in our mates, in our spouse, and our partners that are things we actually have done before, or they're doing only because no one else will do it. So again, your personality is not just a self-contained set of properties. It has a lot to do with who you're with, and it has a lot to do with the space that they will leave you, that you can come into and become shaped and fitted to a role, to a personality type that you yourself would never choose. And we cannot unravel these relational dynamics if we bring people individually into our therapy office, for example, or study them individually in a lab, because we'll miss all that nuance of relational dynamic that's going on only in the context of their lived experience.